The Obsessive Love by Xuckyxheese Chapter 5, Comeback. Abyssal Realm. Ever since I gave him that room he never went outside, might as well check him out before he turned into an omnipotent neat being. Veldanava, devoid of any emotions on his face, spoke, having a tick mark on his forehead. He was given a job from Rimuru, but more of a request, to observe and wait for the appearance of her and her ragtag of a troublemaker team. Veldanava, who was understandable that Rimuru was physically, mentally and spiritually broken. He accepted the said request, helping Rimuru to cope to the current situation. He also felt pity to him. Veldanava also suffered from the same thing. Try asking that to a being who has been alive for multiple decades, or even before the beginning of everything started, and his beloved had already passed away, leaving him alone in this forsaken world. But now Veldanava is having none of that. There's a limit on everything and Rimuru is close on hitting the limit. Rimuru needs to know and understand the current situation, to fix the mess his significant other did. Even if he's still crying and weeping in the bed, Veldanava will yank him out of there and brute force it to put him back on tip-top shape. Veldanava already deemed Rimuru to be his successor after all. Time flows differently in this realm, one could not explain. Heck, maybe just by walking towards the white cube of a room months or years had already passed. Veldanava arrived at the doorway and knocks on it twice. He waited. No response. He knocked again, but with more a thud on it. No response. Testing me, aren't ya? Veldanava, who was already ticked off, has been angered more. He forceful opened the door. Veldanava didn't care what he was doing. He already did his request and it's time for Rimuru to response. But what greeted him is quite a surprise. A sudden slip-up appeared on his angered expression, as his thoughts are only full of awe and expectations. Looks like my worries are for naught, Veldanava thought to himself. He puts his arms on a cross as he leaned on the doorway watching Rimuru. Rimuru was floating in the middle of the room. Even the indoor decorations and the bed too was floating. Intricate magic circles and patterns are swirling around Rimuru, as if multiple or thousands of pieces are molding each other in a perfect symphony. Veldanava read through the magic patterns with ease. There was one distinct magic circle towards the rest that was forming together that piqued his attention. Obviously his curiosity took over and tried to pry over the seal. Oh! His voice of admiration leaped due to the fact it took him longer to appraise it fully. A wide grin formed into Veldanava's face as he fully figured it out, the purpose for the magic circle. Few minutes goes by, everything was sucked in, even the room along with its interior too. Rimuru was still floating midair with what looks like a thin membrane coating around his body. Rimuru opened his eyes and landed back on feet. He looks at his right palm. The fruits of his labor. A crimson red and gold softball-sized sphere with multiple outer layer rings that colored of blue with the mix of purple into it, giving it of a mystifying feeling. Shizu is coming. I know. Thanks for the heads up, old man, Rimuru said, looking at Veldanava. Rimuru had already guessed that Veldanava knew what he created. There was a suspicious grin on his face as if he knew everything was happening. You really are running this old dragon dry, huh? Veldanava replied. Rimuru puts the colorful sphere into his own subspace and shrugged. It can't be helped. The old dragon raised his point finger. You only have one chance. Use it incorrectly, then everything and everyone is doomed. That's why I need your assistance for it, Rimuru replied as the corners of his mouth curved. Sigh, you really are one cheeky brat, I'll tell you that much, but alright, I'll make your entrance as grandiose as it should be. Veldanava raised his hands. Rimuru complies as he raised his own arms and shook his firmly. First and foremost, what will be the name of that? It's your first ever creation without the assistance of Amanas and the voice of the world. Rimuru puts his finger on his chin. Well, calling it anti-seal is boring to begin, or is she even the seal I knew? Rimuru eyes sparkled as he thought of a name for it. Dawn. Perfect name for a new beginning. Rimuru plucks out a blue marble on his pockets and threw it to Veldanava. Use it when you see fit, we'll be attacking with big moves this time. Veldanava saw Rimuru's determination as if a new spark has flourished on him. It has been a while for the dragon to have this type of excitement welling up on him. No wonder Veldora stayed with you, he thought. He gripped the blue marble with a position satisfaction on his face. Time to play along. Intermission. A weapon or a daughter? Dark. I can't see. Where am I? Who am I? Why does everything feels weird? Ho, hey old man. Take a look at this. That voice. It feels like I've heard it before. Where are you? Who are you? Seriously, Rimuru, stop calling me old. Oh, when did this happen? Old man. The old man sounds familiar too. Just now it feels surreal. I didn't expect to turn this way. It's your first creation after all, let's try something first. What are they talking about? First creation? Me. Dawn. Can you hear me? Well, probably you do, but this Oji-san right here will give you a gift or a simple blessing per se. After what the old man said, a bright light filled my vision. It didn't hurt or anything, instead it feels warm as if I am in a cradle of clouds. The blinding light slowly diminished. What I see next is truly something I'll never forget. Beautiful, it spoke. Dawn complimented you too. I looked around and saw two beings staring at me. There were walls surrounding us, perhaps we were in a room? I also checked my body and turns I don't have a limb or two. What do I look like to begin with? Too many questions, calm down me. Let's check things off one by one. Dawn? Is that my name? Yes, do you not like it? The person who was holding me replied. No, I mean, don't change it, let me be Dawn. The person was stunned by my reaction. Please don't get mad at me. I like my name, don't let anyone have it. PFFT. HAHAHAHAHAHA. Interesting indeed. The old man who was beside the person holding me started laughing. I didn't do anything wrong though. Why are you laughing, old man? AHK. Old man collapsed down to the ground as if he had better days. What is this unexpected team up, just like father and daughter, huh? Father? What does that mean? Can I keep it? Just like what you heard from this old man. Technically I am your father, but it sounds weird, isn't it? Name? Tell me your name. Well, my name is Rimuru Tempest, the one who has created you, Dawn. Rimuru smiled. Rimuru was currently outside of the new room that Veldanava created, watching the hologram, as it shows the past him about to meet up with Shizu and company. Dawn was sleeping in her newly created medium, or as big as saying a body. Who would have thought a mere skill gained consciousness that is seemingly attached to its father too? Veldanava, who was beside him, read Rimuru like an open book. I can't keep my head wrapped around the situation, you know, Rimuru replied. The situation with Dawn happened so unexpectedly, but he wasn't dissatisfied or anything. Are you still going to continue with your plan? Veldanava crossed his arms. What do you mean? Sending your daughter to fight, of course, the old lizard replied. Rimuru stayed silent to this statement. Don't say it like that, Rimuru spoke softly. Sending her daughter to fight a crazed omnipotent AI, who would have thought of that? It was only mere minutes as both him and Dawn talked to one another. But Rimuru already had sacrificed way too many things to make Dawn gaining a consciousness. He didn't think of that possibility. Rimuru touched the scars on his neck, reminiscing the past. The way Seal smiled and looked so sadistically at him. He cringed in fear when he remembered it. We'll continue as usual. I can't stop here now, Rimuru spoke. Whatever you say, so Rimuru, but first, Veldanava snapped his finger, showing a new set of hologram viewing mini-scaled version of Dawn. Her aura is mixed and first class, you see. Veldanava showed another hologram of a pie chart showing its statistics. 25% turn null, 25% stardust, 30% Chloe's magical essence. 20% mixed draconic factor of all 4 true dragons. I have a question, no, 2 questions at least. Veldanava showed 2 of his fingers to Rimuru. First of all, Dawn is unstable at the moment for the amount of mishmash you added to her, and second is what's with her pointed ears. Rimuru stayed silent, especially about the second question. But alas, Veldanava, who can easily read Rimuru like a book, sighed. Your emotions got the good of you, huh? Elves, really? Veldanava wanted to smack Rimuru's head a thing or two, but he kept quiet about it. He's better this way instead of being gloomy and depressed all the time, Veldanava thought. As the both of them were immersed in their conversation, Dawn, who was widely awake, hears everything they've said crystal clear.